Hi, I'm Steve Garrett. I'm the founder of Feminism, and I am passionate about equality. Equality between all people, but especially right now, equality between men and women. This is not the same as sameness, vive la différence, very much so as far as I'm concerned. But it's about equal rights for respect and for our freedom to be our true selves. Because I believe that in a world of equality, not only will women be happier, but we men will be much happier too. Is there anything wrong with porn? Question. Have I enjoyed looking at porn? Yeah, of course I have. The worry right now is that there is so much pornographic material available so easy to so many people, including young people. The other worry for me is that the representation of women in almost everything that I've seen is just universally, completely demeaning. This is why I believe that one of the appeals of porn to men is that it sort of makes sex safe somehow, makes women safe. I've got a suspicion that many of us are still at some level afraid of intimacy or afraid of the power of female sexuality, and that porn is a way of kind of taming that and making it accessible to us in a safe way. But I'm also concerned about the effect that it's having on our appreciation of sexuality and our experience of love and relationships. To me, porn works. You know, for men it works, and for many women it works. It taps straight into a part of our brain. It gives us a kind of pleasurable rush. It's a kind of a high. It gives us a temporary relief from tension, temporary satisfaction of some kind of dis-ease that we've got, but then in the long term doesn't actually provide any solution. We need more and more of it. We need to upgrade the kind of dosage that we have. In other words, it satisfies all the characteristics of a dangerous drug. You know, it is no different in my mind from something like crack cocaine. You know, equally, obviously people enjoy it, you know, otherwise they wouldn't use it. But we can look long term and say, yeah, well, hang on. We believe that as a society, the payoff, I should say, the cost, the trade-off doesn't work because the cost is too high. You know, if we have any sort of sane drugs legislation, we don't want people to take drugs, not because we don't want them to have fun, but because we think in the long term it's going to damage their health, which will damage the society, it will possibly damage each other. To me, porn is no different. It works, you know, but long term, it is, and there is neurological and sociological evidence for this, it is distorting and damaging our capacity to have a good sex life. Yes, there's a distinction between really lovely erotic material. Yes, there's a distinction between you know, enjoying sexuality being represented in a way that's really a celebration of love and sex. I mean, you know, I'm a big fan of that. But from what I've seen and from what I've heard and from what I've read, and you know, the majority of this huge stream of material that is now engulfing us and engulfing our children doesn't satisfy any of those requirements. It's being sold to us by companies who have no more concern with our health than the cigarette companies had when they were selling cigarettes, or that drug dealers have when they're selling drugs to our kids, you know, or that McDonald's have when they're, you know, selling us junk food. They don't care about anything other than making profit, and they are damaging us. And we must understand why. It's not moral. It's not saying that it's morally wrong. Look, we're so puritanical about sex in this country that the more that we can talk about sex, the better. My fear is that in schools and even between ourselves, it's still like a sort of a taboo. So, you know, kids aren't at all shy about sharing what they're looking at with each other. Teachers don't want to talk about it. Parents don't want to talk about it. And we don't even admit it probably to each other. I think we need to bring the whole thing out into the open. We can't ban it. Censorship doesn't work and has never worked. Prohibition never worked. The war against drugs fails constantly. The only antidote to self-destructive behavior and dangerous behavior is to talk about it completely openly and to be able to educate and explain to people why this isn't good for them, particularly in school, but I think generally the way in which women are represented means that boys now and men to some extent, expect the women in their lives to behave like the women they've seen in porn films, because that's all they know. That's, especially when they're younger, that's what they've been educated in. That's how you have sex. You know, you smack a woman and come in her face. That's supposed to be what sex is about, because they don't know anything. No one's shown them anything different. You can imagine that girls and women suffer by being objectified in this way and being, I tried to imagine the other day walking down the street with the knowledge that almost every man that was walking down had probably looked at porn recently and thinking, what would I feel like as a woman, knowing that that was the image of women that they had in their minds. So I just think we need to realize what the porn industry is doing, why they're doing it, understand why this stuff isn't good for us, and I'm talking about, the unhealthy stuff, and then begin to reclaim our right to have loving, lovely, sexual, equal, compassionate, intimate, sharing relationships with each other. Because as human beings, if we lose the capacity to do that, we are screwed. It is one of the most important things that we need as human beings. And unless we really want to turn into robots, we've got to get this thing sorted out.